Adachi-san, thank you very much for giving us the time.
Well, thank you.
I was very interested in your talk here, talking about hydrogen. You were saying that you were feeling when you travel in Europe that concrete projects around hydrogen and concrete subsidies from the government are much more real than what we see here in Japan. But here in Japan, the political speech, I mean the institutional speech is very into favor of hydrogen. So
yes.
Where do you see the difference between Europe and Japan?
Well, actually, I have no clear answer for that at this moment. Because, if you take a look at the newspaper and the TV program, Japan is also very much excited about the hydrogen energy. And we have like a very good vehicle, like a Mirai from Toyota.
Yes.
We have a very good technology. It's core technologies. We have those kind of technology in the country. It's just like, whatever else in the industry, we have a good core technology. But in order to implement such a technology as a social system, maybe Japan is not so smart in doing that. And so I think a government leadership or controlling an entire society to utilize such a core technology and give some good benefit to the economy and the industry and the people life. I think this total scenario is not so clear in this country. Probably that is the difference between the Europe or maybe
so
other countries.
What's lacking here? It's subsidies, it's an issue with law, it's certification, standards, universal standards. What's lacking? What could be done to push to turn this hydrogen society dream into a reality in the next 10 years?
It's probably the combination of all those factors. Probably we have subsidies, we have policies, we have regulations, we want to change, but these things are not organically connected. It's only that thing. If we can connect, all these initiatives and the new actions in Japan, I think Japan will also change. We have such potential, I believe.
In terms of change, the auto industry, we have a feeling here in Japan that there's some resistance to move from combustion engine to zero emission, to either full electric or hybrid or hydrogen in the next 20 years. I think Honda is the only car makers who had really said, I will not sell any more cars with combustion engine by 2030. Toyota is criticizing that. Nissan is not taking any position at the moment. So where do you see a lot of resistance with Japanese car makers? Are they afraid to change too fast? Or are they right by saying it's not going to happen in a few years? Give us time and give consumer time to adjust. Who is right in?
I would say they are not afraid of that. They are probably very careful in watching the situation. That's probably a much better way to describe the situation. And I think again the core technologies. They are actually doing many research and development work, and they come up with very good technology. It's a globally leading technology in the reality, but maybe it takes some time for the entire society, even the global society, to accept all these change, probably. European politicians are also saying, we have to, stop all the production of internal combustion engine vehicles by some years. But it may not be, possible, to do that kind of change in a defined time period. Yeah. So everyone in Japan is probably taking very much careful position to see, if you stop everything, maybe to restart something, even for some limited amount, it may be very difficult. And so we are actually seeing, of course, the gradual decrease of the combustion engines, but probably we should not stop completely. To be careful, because it will probably stay for a while. And so I would say people are just being very careful and watching the situation.
But you're not afraid that the Japanese industry might, by taking too much time to adapt, take some kind of, would suffer for a new competition that we see, for example, in China, where you have a lot of startups benefiting from Japanese, from governmental Chinese subsidies, pushing new full EV vehicles, new models. Most of them will die, but some of the startups could turn into big competitors.
Yes.
And we don't see that in the full EV solutions here in Japan. There is no risk that the time, and that we can completely understand, for those car makers to totally revolutionize their industry, could see new competitors come up, and in 15 years we realize suddenly that Chinese have been faster, or there's a risk? Or?
Yeah, well, as I said in my presentation, I think we should not be afraid of the risk. Maybe we should, take a risk as soon as possible. If we, just too careful to take a urgent step, I think the risk amount will be just growing, silently. And in the end, probably we will realize, everything is all converted in outside of the country, and now we are the only country with, the old system. That should not be happening. And so I think it's a balance between how much we are to take the risk. For sure we need to take a risk, but at the same time, we should also preserve conventional technology, maybe just for insurance, or as an option for the future, to have a combustion engine.
A word on semiconductors industry. You're key players in those instruments that semiconductors producers or foundries use when they produce their wafers and when they put their semiconductors on their chips. How is the industry doing? So we see those shortage everywhere in the world. Everybody's fighting to produce more. Car makers are suffering. Everybody's making. How do you cope with that? Because in some of the key instruments, you have more than 50% of the world market. So are you pushing your production at the time? How are you dealing with that? Have you a lot of pressure from your customers who are looking for more and more instruments? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, we have made an investment of expanding our capacity of production a few years ago already. And so that was a really nice timing to
before the shortage
accommodate this the rush of the demand these days. But as you said, we are not really 100% responding to all the demands, because the demand is actually increasing drastically. Yeah, almost unexpected amount of increase rate. And so at the same time, we have also the procurement difficulty at this moment. And so we are actually making the best effort to get all the parts to accommodate the demands, and maintain our capacity of the production as much as possible. So we don't really have too much of a problem at this moment, but we are actually having a very tough time to collect all the parts and bits for the production. So that's the situation.
And when do you see this crisis ending? People are saying maybe end of mid-2022, or do you think this will keep on going for many years?
Yeah, well, this will keep ongoing at least for probably mid next year. That is probably the general understanding, and so that is the only source of information at this moment. We cannot tell from our side. And also the most important point is to know whether this is a real demand for the end product, or some companies are just collecting all the parts and bits for this as a safety inventory.
Stocking.
Yeah, stocking. So if that's the case, maybe at some point they will say, "Oh, I have enough," and then the demand will go down drastically. And so I think we should all be careful about this is real demand or this is a safety stock or something. So that's probably the balance between the two is probably the most interesting point, which I cannot really tell at this moment. Yeah.
Adachi-san, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Very interesting questions. Yeah.
Merci.